Hi, my name is Christov. I'm a yoga instructor, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host Savia Rocks, and today I'm humbled enough to have Christov, who is a yoga instructor. Christov, welcome to the Us People podcast. How are you?
Hello, Savia. It's nice to be here with you.
Thank you so much. So, I've got loads of things about you. I know you're a yoga teacher and you love music. You've also done other things in your life, which is beautiful, writing and acting. But let's start off with a bit about where you grew up and how that influenced you to do what you do today as a yoga teacher.
I grew up in France, in a small village, but my parents moved from Paris to have their children in the countryside. Because it was so we could run around. It was beautiful and it was great. But then very early on, it got boring. Like you become a teenager and you're in a village and you're like, I want to see the world. So I was quite wild at the time. And so there's something I need to say about myself.
Okay.
I was adopted.
Okay.
So I was adopted and I'm mixed race, and it was quite a long time ago. And so I was in a village, and it was not difficult because of that, but I always felt sort of the outsider.
Okay.
So what happened because of that, my parents were great. I mean, and they also adopted another person, my sister, and then they had two children. So we were quite a close family. It's a very good family. Everything went well, but the problem was because you're an adopted child, you ask yourself questions. It's quite difficult.
Did you feel like you didn't, even though you had a family and that was your family, did you feel like you were missing a piece of you because you didn't necessarily know where you truly came from?
Well, there is a real story behind that as well. The story is that in France we have a law called X, which means that if you have a child, at the time out of wedlock or whatever, you can leave your child to the government, but to the state, but you will never know his name. They will never know your name. So basically, I grew up with parents they were my parents, but weren't my birth parents. Yeah. And I had no idea, and they had no idea where I came from. Okay. So I didn't know if my father was black, if he was Arab, if he was whatever. I didn't know anything. Yeah. And they didn't know anything. So I grew up, and most of my life I spent not really knowing where I came from. So I had to build myself an identity, which was not always easy, but I was always very positive. I had my ups and downs, but I was, like, let's make the best out of life. Yeah. So therefore, when I was a teenager, I was like, I want to see the world. And because I didn't have a history as such, I had to create my own. Yeah. So I was quite good at school, but I didn't do anything. So that didn't last very long. So I just wanted to see the world. So funnily enough, what happened is, rather than just go, when I left school, I just thought, let's go to England, or let's go and travel the world. Actually, I wanted to travel the world, but then there was this girl that said, why don't you go to England first, on my round the world trip?
Yeah, why not?
And I arrived there at the punk times, and I was very young, and everybody was very young, and I loved it. So I started a band, and it was all going on, and I had friends in a bands like Generation X, and I did some stuff with The Clash.
Oh,
But I was like a teeny weeny little guy, so like really young. But because one thing people forget is when you're really young, you can get anywhere because people like you
that's true.
because you're young.
That's
You're so
true.
young, and you feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. But
Yeah.
so that was the beginning of my London thing, and and I stayed basically. So that's how it started. No, that's how my life started.
How did you get into yoga?
Well, my mother gave me a gym pass
Ah,
because I went to England and then I came back to France. I was still like 21 or something for a long time. And she said she was working in this company. She said, you can have a free gym pass and whatever. And I went, okay. I was always a sports guy. I was very good at football when I was young. I was very sporty. I always was very sporty. And then so I went to the gym, and then there was this teacher, that Italian or something, and he did yoga, and I did it, and I thought, wow, I really like this.
yeah.
So that's how I started my yoga thing.
Wow. For people who don't understand what yoga is, explain a little bit about what yoga is and the history behind yoga.
Well, yoga started a long time ago in India,
Yeah.
and it's basically yoga is how to reconnect your body and your mind together.
Which can be hard at the best of times.
Yes. I mean, this is why today a lot of people, Western people, love yoga, because yoga allows you to just sit down and see the inside of you without being judgmental. So yoga is a meditation, but it's a meditation with asanas, which are movements.
Yes.
But it's totally a meditation. The idea is that when you do yoga, you don't think about anything else. You think about being here and being now. So the asanas help you to do that, the movements. And at the end, you start with a meditation, a few minutes of meditation, and at the end you finish with some relaxation.
Yeah.
And you feel better and you feel good, but you also feel more yourself. Your yoga allows you to be aware of your body and to think of your body, and it all goes through the breath. So we're breathing normally, we breathe, but when you do yoga, you learn to observe your breath. Yeah. So for example, if you tense your body, you inhale, and you relax your body, you exhale. So those are the things that allow you to be more aware of yourself and to be here and now, and basically to just enjoy and realize the fact of being alive.
Yeah. I think a lot of people at the moment are slowly starting to understand how important it is, especially with the whole lockdown. People are starting to resonate with themselves a lot more compared to when things were normal and everyone was rushing and everyone was really angry. I think now people are slowly learning to calm down.
Well, sorry. Well, what you're saying is so true. A few months back, which feels like years ago.
Yeah, sure does.
I was teaching people, and I was telling people, they say, because I was doing mostly private teaching.
Yes.
Because I wanted to help people, to align people, to take time, etc., etc. And I thought it's having a one-to-one relationship was the best for me. I didn't like working in gyms particularly. I wanted to really help people. So, but my pitch was, you got to slow down, because most of the people I work with are professionals, people that have no time. So that's why I used to go to their place for an hour and teach them. So because they didn't have time or didn't want to go to a gym. But those people never really wanted to slow down because they were
Ah.
lawyers or whatever, doing very important in brackets jobs, but jobs that would give them no time, and they didn't think they had any time. And a lot of the answers of people that wanted to do it, but they said, oh, I'd love to do yoga, but I don't have any time. And I said, you don't have an hour a week?
Yeah.
And I come to you, you don't have what is your life about? You're gonna, what happens is when you get older, if you don't stop, you're gonna get ill. You're gonna have problems. This is not a natural thing to do. So I was trying to teach people to slow down, and suddenly everybody had to slow down. And so it was quite interesting because suddenly people were like, oh, we want to do yoga now. So I started the online yoga that I'm doing now. And 6 months ago, I would not have thought I could do online yoga. I thought nobody would care, nobody would come, and nobody was doing it really.
Yeah.
And suddenly all these people came up, and we started to create a small international community where I teach people at the same time in France, in Scotland, in England, in Spain. So we have a small community that gather together, congregate together to do a yoga class, and it's the future, and I love it.
See, tell us a little bit about the spiritual path of yoga, because I've always wanted to understand the process within yoga and it's spiritually connecting together with us when we do yoga.
Well, there is a spiritual story of yoga which you can follow or not follow. Don't forget the Indians created Buddhism. Yes. Buddhism comes from India. So you have the Indian way, and you have the Buddhism. And the spiritual path is basically that we think that we are not just here for no reason, and we are just our body. The spiritual path is to connect with a higher being, but the higher being in that case being us. So I think we all are spiritual, and I think we use, some people use religion to be spiritual. I think spiritual is more thinking that there is more than what we do every day. There is more to life, and just asking yourself about life. And I think yoga gives you the opportunity to ponder about this. Yeah. So the spirituality in yoga is not the main thing. You can do yoga without having any spirituality. Yeah. But if you're interested in spirituality, then yes, yoga is a good way of helping you. I use a lot of Buddhism teachings without being a Buddhist particularly, but a lot of Buddhism teachings because I think they work really well with yoga. For example, teachings about compassion. Yes. Being compassionate for others, but also being compassionate for yourself. Things like that. Being present. Being present, being compassionate, being loving. There is a saying which I use at the end of my lessons. I say, "May you be well. May you be happy. May you be safe and protected. May you be filled with loving kindness." And then you can say that to yourself. May I be well. Yeah. May I be happy. May I be safe and protected. May I be filled with loving kindness. Those are for me the things that can take you to a different place without being a religion.
I love that. I've never heard someone say it in that concept before, but it's really nice. It's actually really calming as well. I'm a really calm person, but to talk to someone now and have someone as calm as myself is actually quite nice. Rather than, like you say, everybody's always in a rush. I have to go, I'm busy, I can't do this. But it's nice to be able to have that. Do you have a favorite yoga style that you teach? Because um, everybody might have a
Yeah.
different style and technique of teaching yoga. What's yours?
Okay. I teach Hatha yoga, which is the strong yoga. Basically, what it is you keep the poses longer,
Yes.
but you do them slower. If
Okay.
you So that's Hatha yoga, and then you have a lot of, at the moment you have quite a few different ones. You have Bikram yoga, which is not, to me, not real yoga, but it's also something you do under very hot situation. You go to a hot place and you do yoga and you sweat a lot.
Oh, I've done that before.
For
Yeah.
people,
Yes.
people that love to sweat, and it's been created for the Western world, because in India you sweat because it's so
Hot.
hot. Anyway, and then you have Ashtanga yoga, which is a faster form of Hatha yoga. So with slightly different poses and always the same, but you go very fast. So it's for people that are very physically able. That it's kind of a workout, but it's still very much yoga. Hatha yoga, for me, everybody can do it.
Okay.
You can be young, you can be very old, you can be. I teach people in their 60s, in their 70s. You can do yoga all your life. So my kind of yoga, Hatha yoga, is about what you can do.
Yeah.
The way I teach, that every teacher has a slightly different approach, but
Yeah,
my
that's true.
approach is, it's all about what you can do, not what you cannot do. So what happens is, when you start, people say, "Oh yeah, but I can't do yoga. I'm not flexible enough." And
I
the
was
thing
just
is,
gonna ask you that as
nobody's
well.
flexible enough. Okay, you were going to ask me that?
Yeah,
Okay,
I was gonna ask you
please do.
that too. With how important is flexibility practicing within yoga also, because a lot of people, like you just said to me, don't understand. I know you say everyone can do yoga, but some people haven't got the confidence to say, but I'm not flexible enough. I can't stretch like you. You're a professional, but they feel like obviously they're not a professional. So how does it work with flexibility within yoga?
Well, you said some interesting things in this question. You said, first of all, you said, "I am not flexible,"
Yeah.
which means you think what flexible, you know what being flexible means,
Yeah.
first. And second, you said, "I can't do it like you." And nobody's asked you to do it like me.
That's true. That's very true.
And third, and third, the idea is that I am not as flexible as some people. And I'm doing yoga every day all my life.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. What matters, what happens is, okay, if you start yoga, and first of all, yoga makes you aware of your body. Some people have a problem of they think my body is not the way my body should be, etc., etc. They're trying to conform to a certain idea, and I wanted to say as well, because of that, I wanted to say, when you go on Instagram and you see all these yoga teachers, this, I'm not being sexist, but a lot of young women who are, I've got the long body, and they do these things that nobody can do, and definitely not, I can't do. And they call that yoga. This is not yoga. This is showing off, and this is not in the spirit of yoga at all. So in the Western world, there is a big problem going on right now, which is the idea of yoga is the person who is hyper flexible, that can do all these incredible poses. We don't care. This is not yoga. If you go to India, everybody does yoga, from the children to the grandmother to everyone. It's a practice. So I wanted to clear that first. So don't look at these people, because they're not the yoga people.
Yeah.
The real yoga is, okay, you're not flexible yet. You can't touch, like, for example, a lot of men, especially men, are really stiff, right? Because they never stretch, they never dance, they never do anything. But what happens is, they go, "Oh, I can't touch the floor with my," if you say bend down, touch, and bring your hands down.
Yeah.
They said, I can't touch the floor. And they said, it doesn't matter. You can't touch the floor now
But you will
because
eventually.
your body's never done it. So yoga is a practice, and it's a practice that never ends. So your body will get used to it. If you're big, there are things the things you cannot do, don't do them. There are lots of asanas, So don't look left, don't look right. Don't look at the other people doing it. Just do what you can, and we're going to work on that. And you're going to see very quickly that you're just going to be happier with your body.
I like that a lot. Is there anybody who inspires you to do yoga? Are there any yoga gurus that you... I know you went to India to learn yoga. You went to Indian school to learn yoga.
Yeah.
Was there anyone in particular inspired you to do yoga?
Yes, I had 3 great teachers. Yeah. One was English. Was a young man from Brighton, actually, who was very, very good in yoga, but more than that, he taught me anatomy. Okay. That was his thing. And he also taught me to be funny because I thought he was very funny. Okay, and then there was this woman teacher who was half English, half Indian, who was so beautiful to watch. I call her the queen of the flow. So she taught me that it's when you do the asanas, you can do them one after the other, but you can make it flow. You can have a link, and then it's a bit like a dance, So you do them in a very. It can be very beautiful to look at, rather than being more like a sport. Yeah. And then the third guy was an Indian guy who taught us about philosophy of yoga. And for me, it taught me calm, how to be calm, how to be patient, how to be caring. And so those people definitely they influenced me. And to this day, the three of them, very different people, influenced me in my practice and in my teaching as well. I'm trying to be calm. I'm trying to be funny. I'm trying to make it flow.
Yeah.
And be spiritual, as you said, with the Indian guys. So.
What advice would you give anybody who's a beginner at yoga? What's the important things about being a beginner and getting into yoga?
I think if you want to do yoga, do yoga. Don't find a good teacher. I believe that yoga is about the teachers.
But how do you know that you found a good teacher, Christoph? How do you know?
Will know. You will know. You will know because you will want to come back.
That's true. I like that answer. That's very true.
I think once you find, you have to trust the teacher, because if you're not confident in yourself, and you are like with someone, I mean, there are different kind of teachers. Some teachers are very, very, very good at yoga, and they do things that people can't do. And I've been in this situation before I taught, and it was really difficult because it's like, okay, you can do that, but I can't do that. And so you feel really bad. No, you need to find someone that will help you, allow you to be yourself, and give you time, I think, as I said, everyone can do yoga.
Yeah.
So you start. At the end, you feel good. If you feel good and you do it again, you feel good, and you do it again, you feel good, and then you carry on. And then you stop thinking about why you're doing it. You're just doing it.
You're just naturally just doing it because it resonates with you.
It's a practice. Yeah. It's a practice.
What's your value towards yoga? What do you value from doing yoga for yourself?
Well, in my case, I've been doing yoga for a long time, but after doing the teacher training, I realized it just gave me a lot of calm. I mean, I think yoga can calm you. It's always there for you. For example, the breathing. So if you're in a stressful situation, I'm gonna give you a tip that you can use
Okay, I like
all
these
the
ones.
time.
Okay, I'm ready.
So when you are in a stressful situation, somebody shouting at you, somebody trying to run you over or something on the street, or your boss having a go, your children, screaming, whatever, any or your partner just being a pen in the, whatever. So one of the way to calm yourself down is you breathe through breathing. So you breathe, you count up to 4. We can do it together now.
Yeah,
So
I was getting ready.
so as you inhale and you count to 4. So inhale with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you exhale, you count 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale to 4. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last time. Inhale to 4, 2.
See, now I feel more relaxed.
Any situation. This is because your parasympathetic nervous system is there. Okay, for example, if a dog runs at you,
As they do.
I give you, that's one of the easy example. So a dog runs at you. What you're gonna do? You're gonna freeze.
Yeah.
And your mind and your nervous system is just gonna focus on that danger.
Yes.
So you're freezing and you stop breathing. So every time you are feel in any sort of danger, it doesn't have to be danger, it can be stress. You stop breathing.
Yeah.
You start shallow breathing.
Yeah.
So if you do those 3 times, what I showed you, you're coming back to normal.
I think everyone should do that. So as soon as they're listening to this podcast, as soon as we get to that section where you start breathing, guys, I want you to start breathing too. Because it will help you throughout the rest of your day. And if you think good things while you're doing it, then you feel more. I actually felt so relaxed doing that.
Yeah, because it does. It's scientific. It's not, it is scientific. It just brings you down back to natural rhythm, And for example, if you go and pass an exam, take an exam, you're like, goodness, and you do this before you go into the exam, etc.
You feel so nice. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, Christov, is so I'm watching Instagram, as you were saying before. I'm seeing all these big mats, these expensive mats. I'm seeing all these, and they say to you, go out and buy this and pay for this. Do you really need all that stuff? I want you to break it down for me, because like you said before, you've been watching the Instagrams, the anywhere that there is videos, the YouTubes, and you're seeing all these people with these big, expensive, extravagant studios, but I know you can just do it at home, somewhere where it's comfortable, somewhere where it's quiet. But also, what do you really need for yoga? Explain to me what you need.
In India, people they don't have the yoga mats.
See, I can do it on concrete.
Okay, so in India, they don't have yoga mats. They just have like a towel or, a blanket, whatever they can find. The reason why we have yoga mats here is because, I don't know, I mean, it's a business. It's the business of, of sport, etc. The mats existed before yoga. I mean, before yoga came to the Western world. Yeah. So they just adapted the mats. I mean, the good thing about a mat, if you want to choose a mat, first of all, don't spend a lot of money, because you don't know how long you're going to do yoga.
That's
so
true.
If you spend like £100 on a mat and then you do it twice, that's a lot of money for nothing. And second, my yoga mat was probably worth, I mean, my sister offered it to me, but it's probably worth £20, and it's very good. I think what you look in the yoga mat is a mat that's not too slippery. Okay. So when you in downward facing dog, for example, your hands are flat in front of you, you're in a V, you're pushing on your feet, you're pushing on your hands. If you slip, that's not very good. So find. I think if you spend in the region in the UK, it's not the same in every country, but in the UK, if you spend in the region of 15 to 20 pounds, you're not gonna have a good yoga mat.
Okay. Well, that works.
Yeah,
well.
I mean, you can spend as much money as you want, but don't forget it's a business, and they're trying to sell you. Just like saying, "Oh, get the best shoes, you're gonna run faster." No, you're not gonna run faster because of the shoes. It's nice to have great shoes, but you're not gonna run faster. It's so don't spend a hell of a lot of money, and then once you have it and you do a lot of yoga, if you want to upgrade, why not?
What about the clothes? What's good clothes to wear for yoga?
Well, for women, I mean, I guess it's, the famous yoga pants.
Yeah, of course.
which are, something where you can move, and not like something that's more sticking to your body rather than being, floating, because you're going to be upside down. You're going to, you don't want your clothes to come into in your face, and so you want something that's quite close to the body, but then allow you to move the way you want to move. But I guess it's at the moment, I mean, fashion is already a bit like that. So
yeah, that's true. It really is.
But something where you feel comfortable and you're not too hot. It's because yoga, you get quite hot quite quickly.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be, so the other thing is a lot of people want to wear socks. I don't know, people have something, quite sort of problems with their feet. They're like, you see a lot of people, they're like, no, I want to wear my socks. No, I want to wear. Okay, you can wear your socks, but then you don't feel the ground as much. You don't feel the floor.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is to feel the floor. And we have a lot of sensitive points under our feet.
Yes, we do.
So when you're barefooted, so it's much easier, and then you're not sleeping. So I would say, if you can, if you have not too much problem about showing your feet to yourself, then don't put socks on. Only at the end, when you do the relaxation and you get a bit colder, because you're not moving for 5 minutes, put your socks back on.
Okay. That sounds good to me. Tell me about because you do music as well, Christoph. And because you do music as well, you've done music before. Tell me about how music connects with yoga, and what good music, what you could have to do yoga with. So how can you connect them together? What's good music to listen to while you're doing yoga, basically?
Okay, it's a particular thing for me because I used to be a DJ, and for me, the way I construct my yoga class is very much the way you construct a music mix. Okay. So it goes up and down, etc. So I use music that starts, for example, my typical class starts with 5 minutes of calm meditation, meditation. So you come from work, even if you wake up, anything, you have to come into the class, you have to come into this hour of yoga. So we start with a very, very cool music, something really like, ambient, really, really calm.
Yeah.
And then, but that's me, I like to have a bit more of a rhythm. So I use down-tempo music, sometimes with vocals, sometimes not with vocals. And because my class goes from lying on the mat to going up, then you start lying, then you get on all fours, start moving around, and you get up. So the music follows that. And then you do the hardest part, which is sun salutation. So you have some sort of rhythm. I like a groove myself.
I can see that. I wish you could see Christoph, guys. He's like he's dancing, but it's so smooth.
Yeah, I like a groove. So you get to the peak, and then you come down to sitting, and then your music calms down a little bit, and then you go to the relaxation, and you have a very, very cool music. I've got this great funny a German singer, but she's been living in India all her life, called Diva Premo, who is an amazing singer. And if you listen to her, Diva Premo, there's a lot of beautiful. And what she does is she's using the chants of yoga, the mantras.
Yes.
So a mantra is something you repeat all the time, and that you use in the Indian religion. So Hindu religion. So she's singing the mantras over and over again with this beautiful, beautiful voice, and that's some of the things I use for the relaxation. So my class is very based around music, and my music is very based around my class. I love that. I love creating those mixes.
Yeah.
And in fact, I could send you a link of one of the mix I've done.
Oh, yes, please.
That you can download, anyone can download, which gives you an idea of an hour of you can use.
That sounds so nice.
Voila.
Is there one person who has inspired you to do what you do and who has helped you throughout your life? Can you tell me one person who's inspired you as a friend or a family member who's helped you become who you are?
Yeah, I have a few people that did. They inspired me, but also more, they were like, because I'm the eldest in my family, they were more like big brothers, or, I think people inspire me for different reasons. One is to be a honest guy, someone that took care of other people as much as themselves. And then people that inspired me, people that were looking for something, and people that were, I think, one thing I can, if I look back at my life, that wasn't always the case, is being humble. And that for sure is, I've been inspired, by people to be humble, because, it's always the same when you're in some sort of spotlight. And I wasn't, a big star or anything, but, I was in some sort of spotlight most of my life. It's easy to just, your ego can go up, and you don't even realize it. You just take it for granted.
Do you find that egos can hinder you a lot? How did you get out of it? How did you say, no, I'm not going to let my ego conquer?
Well, I think yoga is a good way to do that. Because it's a good practice, and it teaches you to be calmer, and also it teaches you about yourself a lot, because you have to go inside yourself. But what I wanted to say about the ego thing is, like, nowadays young people are on social media or whatever, which is fair enough, but they all think they have to be superstars.
Yeah.
Which is fine when you're young. Okay, you want to be, a DJ, or you want to be a singer, or you want to be whatever, which is fine. But that's when you're young, when you're really young. After that, you don't need validation from people to be yourself.
Yeah.
You are yourself. And achieving, you don't, to be loved, you have to love.
Yeah.
Everybody will be loved. Everybody will be loved. Someone will love you. Your friends love you. If you want to be loved by millions of people, you have no idea what it means, because then you have to be responsible for a million of people.
That's true.
So I would say, be happy with who you are, and the things that you don't like in yourself, make them better. But there is no nirvana. People have no idea. I've been around very, very famous, very, very rich people all my life. And I can tell you, if you're not happy, if you're not sure, if you're unsure of yourself, it's, you can fake it because you're super rich, but you are the same person. So who you are is who you are. Yes. become super famous as an artist and you're not happy, as you, as we know, a lot of people didn't make it because it's harder, because you're unhappy in front of millions of people thinking you're super great. So I would say just be yourself. I know it's a cliche, but be yourself means be the best of you.
Yeah, I like
That's
that.
what I would say to people. That's what I would say to people also in my class. Be the best of you.
How much time do you spend a day doing yoga? And what's the
Well, I
quality
teach
time?
every day, so I do at least 1 or 2 hours a day,
Which is no,
which
it's
is
just
not
good
bad.
enough. How do you take criticism? So you know when you're teaching yoga and someone, I know it's bizarre. I know when you're gonna have all types of comments coming back to you on how you teach, what you teach, but how do you, as the reason why I ask this, it comes down to the ego again, where I ask you, how do you take criticism and how do you handle criticism? Because everybody has this perception that yoga teachers are always calm and peaceful, and that's how they should be. But I know everyone, we are all human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, it's really interesting discussion because when I was a DJ, musician, whatever I did,
Yeah.
I couldn't take
Ah. What
criticism
did you do?
easily. Sorry.
What did you do if
I
someone said something?
Well, I was like, I was DJing. Somebody would say, "Oh, no, when I was like, "Oh, go away." That was my life. Since I've been teaching yoga, first of all, I don't get criticism. I get ideas, or maybe I take ideas. For example, when I started the online classes, I didn't really know how it would translate.
Yeah.
So some people said, "Oh, we want a more dynamic yoga. We want a bit more dynamic because it was the morning." So for me, it wasn't a criticism. It was like, okay, let's go there.
Okay.
So I think that it's not that you're calm,
Yeah.
because I'm quite calm, but not all the time. But I'm quite calm. I'm a calm person. But it's more you take criticism as ideas.
True. No, I like that. That makes sense to me. How do you make a business doing yoga? Because a lot of people would like to understand this. Like I said, you go on your YouTube, you go on your Instagram, and yes, they have millions of followers. All these people, some of them have millions of followers. But how do you, as a person, see how they're doing business? Do you think they're doing business in the right way? Just because numbers don't mean you're successful. You can have 1 million people watching you, but it doesn't mean that you are successful. How do you define what is the right way, in your opinion, of having a business for yoga?
It's okay. Lots of yoga teachers. I mean, when you become a yoga teacher, the last thing you want to do is make a business out of it, because you're so into what you can bring to people that a lot of people, including myself, when I started, was, I really want to just share my knowledge and help people being good and etc. etc. So some people it can hinder, the business side of it.
Yeah.
Also, the first thing people tell you is, I can watch yoga online for free. Why would I pay? And it's like, you should, do it. So how do you make it? I don't know. It's hard. There are lots of people doing it. Depends how you kind of, what your goal is. Do you want to be super rich? Do you want to live out of it? Do you want to, it's difficult. It's actually difficult to make a living. I think most of people that are teaching yoga have got other means of surviving.
Yeah.
Or they're in a position that they don't, have to pay rent, or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, let's be very clear about that. Now, beyond that, you can make a living as well. One of the ways to make a living is you teach privately. So teaching privately means if you teach privately, you're teaching to people that have the means to pay you
Yes.
well, because an hour of yoga private is, between 60 and 90 pounds. Okay. So if you have enough clients, you can do the math.
Yeah.
Teaching in gyms doesn't pay you well at all. And it's a real nightmare. So I wouldn't advise that. But if you do enough of it, maybe you can survive.
Yeah.
But you have to do a lot, and it's not that much fun. No, I think you can make a business out of it if you're good and people follow you.
Yeah.
I think the million people follow us on Instagram and whatever, I don't think it translates into teaching, because you get clients through people recommending you.
That's true.
People you meet. For example, you can have a lot of money and make a lot of publicity around yourself, but one of the ways is, the way I do it, is you start small. You create a community, and then the community grows.
Yeah.
And then because you're doing enough lessons, you can pay, like, in my online teaching, people pay £7 an hour.
Yeah.
But if I have 10 people, I can make £70, for example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I do that, multiply by number of lessons, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So I would advise people that yoga teachers, when I came out of my training, I was so into the yoga and I had been doing yoga in gyms, and I so didn't want to do that. Yeah. I didn't want to teach in a gym. So I started, funnily enough, by having private clients, because I went to people that I knew or not, or I met, and I said, I can teach you yoga. I come to your class, etc. And it did work, funnily enough, because normally people say, yeah, you build a name, and then people will want you to do private. No, I said, I came to you and I said, do you want to do yoga? And you say, yeah. And you say, well, I don't have time. I say, I come to you,
Yeah.
So everyone has their own ways of doing it, but it's hard. I mean, if you want to do yoga to become rich, do something else.
Oh.
But you are rich because you're sharing something great.
Yeah.
And because you're keeping yourself super fit. And it's great. I mean, there's a community sense. There's a lot of things going on. So I don't know, I guess if you're very young, you can build yourself for 5-6 years, and then you
progress.
After 6-7 years, you will do that. But there is a lot of competition, and if you're just focused on that, you're not going to be a happy person.
No, that makes sense. What's the most difficult part of your artistic process of doing yoga, would you say? Oh,
I don't. What do you mean by that?
So
I mean,
when you're doing all your style of yoga, what's the hardest part about you doing it? Because is it the moves? Is it because you're trying to be Are you very creative with yoga, or do you just naturally let it flow?
There are many ways of teaching yoga. One of the ways is to prepare your class.
Yeah.
You have like those asana, those moves. It's all prepared. So you're going to go from this to that, to that, to that.
Yeah.
And you've prepared it. So, what you're doing is you have built a beautiful class.
Yeah.
And you follow the way you build. I don't do that.
Oh, okay.
I don't do that. I mean, I what I do, and I sort of kick myself sometimes, because I'm like, why don't you prepare your class? And what I do is I do it naturally. I flow through my feelings of the day.
Yeah.
Of course, I have a lot of asanas in my head, so I can choose. So that's how I approach it. So I do a move, a pose, a asana, and then while I'm doing it, I link it with the next one, because that, to me, at that moment, is naturally the next one. And also I can I can do it. Depends on my class.
Yeah.
I look at the class. I look at people. Can they do this? Can they do that? Do they want it dynamic, etc., etc.?
No,
It
that
all
makes
comes
sense.
from.
If you were stuck on a desert island,
Yeah.
what what album would you bring with you to do yoga?
Yoga.
Yeah.
Ah. Um. Well, there is this woman called Diva Prema,
Yeah.
and she has a lot of albums, and I think there are a couple of things. There's this woman, Diva Prema. I would definitely be my first choice because it goes really well with yoga.
Yeah.
There's also something people don't know about is Tina Turner.
Ah.
As for about 10 years, she's really she was always, vegan and very healthy and whatever, but she's also been doing a lot of music for yoga
Oh.
and a lot of singing. So you can check her out, Tina Turner, and you will, and it's beautiful because she sings with children, and it's quite an exciting thing. So
I know you told me a bit about one of the quotes before about being kind and just having that natural passion for what you do, but is there any other quotes that resonate with you?
maybe I can't hear you right now.
Oh, I got you now. Hey, yep,
Okay.
there we are. So is there any other quotes that you would choose for yourself? So if I said to you, choose one quote that represents who you are as a person, what quote would you choose and why would you choose that particular quote?
Okay, it's from the Dalai Lama,
Okay.
and it says, "My religion is kindness."
I like that.
And why would I choose that? Because I try to be kind. I think it's one of the things I love the best about when you can attain that, when you can be kind. And it's not always easy, but I think that's what I would say. My religion is kindness. Yeah.
I like that. I might use that, Christoph. So if you see it up somewhere, you know that it was me who took it. I'll pay you royalties for it.
No, it's the Dalai Lama. It's not me.
Oh, dear. So what's your best memory you've ever had? If you had to break...
My best memory.
Yeah, your
Okay,
best memory.
very simple. In general in
Just in
life.
general in life, yeah.
Okay, I tell you, I was there when my son was born,
Oh,
and
naturally.
and that when I tell you why. I mean, apart from I only got one son, but the thing is, when I saw a human being coming out of another human being,
Yeah.
that we know, but when you see it in real life, you go, "Wow, that's it's incredible to be alive."
Yeah.
And I think from that, people forget. People think about their problems all the time. Some people, they miss out. Look at the flowers and look at the trees and look at the people and look at the love you're getting. You're getting so much love you don't even realize.
That's true.
Your friends love you. Your family loves you. People talk to you. People help you. Fall on the street. People will come and help. If all you're thinking is about, I don't have enough money, then you're missing out on life.
That's true.
You're missing out, and life is not very long. So
it's very short.
Open your eyes, and try to be happy.
I like that one. That's really nice. Was there ever a time, Christoph, where you said to yourself that you want to give up? You feel like you're not having the support. You've had a very, not necessarily rough life, but you've had a very bumpy ride throughout life, I would say. But it's made you I think that you've made brilliant choices within your life to come out and be the person who you are today, to be able to teach people how to become better within themselves, because you could have took any path. And what I want to ask you is what would you say to other people who sometimes feel like they want to give up, or they feel like they don't have the support of advice, who have been in a similar situation like you because you've been adopted, what would you say to them to be successful in their own interpretation of what the word success means?
Well, first of all, I must say, life is bizarre because it's for me, it started unlucky, then it became very lucky because my mother, my adopted mother, I can't call her this, was my mother, was an amazing person.
Yeah.
Who taught me about the beauty of life, who taught me how beautiful I was, etc., etc. And so during my life, when I was unhappy or sad, or those words resonated with me, and I would say, if you want to give up, then you have to think of one thing: life has been given to you. And one day you're going to die. So do you want to die before that, or do you want to die then? And a lot of the time when we're unhappy, we isolate ourselves. We're like, I only want to show the best part of me to people. So I don't want my friends to see me because I'm not feeling well. It's a natural thing. We hide. I think sometimes we forget that our friends accept us not for what we can be, but for what we are. A lot of people say, and I was the same when I was young because of my situation. I wanted to be famous because I wanted people to love me, because at some point people didn't. And I thought, if I become famous, everyone's going to love me. But in reality, we have to look around us. There's a lot of love. And if you have no love, go and search for it. Go find it. People want to be normal, and they say, "Oh, it's easy for you. It's easy for you. You have money. You're white. Whatever. I want to talk. Okay, my father was an African man, which I never met. Okay, so if I could talk a little bit about that, I could talk a little bit about being from to soul, but I feel so black inside as well, But what I'm saying is that sometimes we try to be to be what people think of us. Okay, so if you're white, you're like this. If you're black, you're like this. So and we sort of stop at that. And I was watching a program. And this is for black people. I was watching a program recently about Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington?
Yeah, definitely.
Denzel Washington was one of the first black actors that really made it big, big, big. Not only with black people, with white people. And it's really interesting because Denzel Washington, as black as he is, that never was the first thing people thought about it. Okay? And it must have been hard for him because there was not really that many people before him, right? But they thought of him as an actor, right? So in my case, I've been an outsider a lot. And so would I just say, okay, nobody loves me because I'm not like you?
Yeah.
Or I'm just me, And it's not always that easy, but it does work. And I think being positive, not just being stupidly positive, but just like being positive, wanting good things, things you do. Yeah. You called me and you said you want to be part of this podcast, and I'm like, yeah, great, because that's how people connect. And what you're doing is connecting people. And I think that's what we got to think about. People do amazing things, And I really believe in it's sometimes hard to do, but I do believe in the human race. Yeah. And there are some horrible people, like the people that killed George Floyd.
Yeah.
Last, But look at the reaction. All over the world, people have been going, this is wrong.
It
We
is
are
wrong.
not these people. This is not who we really are.
Yeah.
This is not us. So, you can look at it many different ways.
Oh, that's true. Where can we find you, Christov? So I want you to plug as much as you can. Tell me, where can we find you? I love it when people do this part.
I tell you, it's quite... my social media is really not up to scratch, but
It's
you
okay.
can find me on Facebook.
Yeah.
On at Wimi Yoga. My sort of company is called We Me Yoga, it comes from Muhammad Ali when he was doing the fight in Rwanda against George Foreman. He went and he was shouting to those African people that had never seen an American black, and they said he said Ali Boumaye, Ali, but it also said we, me. So that's where it comes from. So We Me Yoga.
Yeah.
And you can find me on Instagram at yoga with Christov, Christov. And then that's about it.
That's okay. That's perfect. As long as we can find you, then that's all good. Christov, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Us People podcast and letting me pull all your knowledge out from you to share with everyone.
Well, I had a great time, and I hope you're going to join one of my classes sometimes.
Oh, yeah,
you're
most
welcome.
definitely. I'll be there.
Yeah, I'd love to. And I thank you so much. I really appreciated it. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christov. And guys, thank you so much for listening to the Us People podcast. Please remember you can subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer to listen to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And please remember you can donate to the Us People podcast to help us continue to do what we're doing with people like Christov. So please remember you can simply just type in paypal.me/Us People podcast. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, continue to be kind to one another.